young unemployed people will be a social problem for us. Yes.
Daw Martin Sung from CNBC over here. The question is, just in front of you, the question is related, and that is, right now there seems to be almost like a gold rush. A lot of foreign companies want to come in, win contracts, win tenders, do business, do trade, etc., which is good in a way. Myanmar needs the money. But what parts of this frenzy worry you?
Actually, there isn't that much investment coming in. I think it's more investigations than investment. People are coming here to investigate the possibility of investing here. But yes, it is a frenzy, and a frenzy is never attractive. I keep saying cautious optimism, and something that I'm a wet blanket because I talk about cautious optimism. But I think that's just practical. And I think those who come here and look, there are always the same problems. First of all, they worry about rule of law, and that's one of my main concerns. Because, not just because I'm the chair of the Rule of Law and Tranquility Committee, because I believe that without rule of law we can't get anywhere. We can't get economic development either, because that's what the serious businesses are looking for, rule of law. How safe are the investments going to be? That's one thing. And the other is infrastructure, which goes back to what our villagers tell us: roads, electricity. So this is why investments are not pouring in, just investigations are pouring in. And let's stop the frenzy a bit. We're going to go to the back there first. You have to...
Hello, this is Adit from the Associated Press. If we weren't content enough with your answer before this morning, so I need to ask you again. If you succeed in amending the Constitution, and if you become the president of Myanmar, what will you do for the ethnic minorities, and with special regard to the Rohingya people and the Muslim, the people who believe in Islam in this country? Thank you.
First of all, as I said, I believe in the rule of law, and everybody in this country should be entitled to the protection of the law. Everybody, all ethnic groups, all religious groups. But with regard to the ethnic nationalities, that is to say those who are now in the states, we'll have to go for a federal system. This has always been the policy of our party, that we need federalism to keep our union intact. For decades, actually, the propaganda of the authoritarian governments had been that federalism equals right to secession. And we've always had to explain that federalism does not mean secession, that in fact federalism is a way of preventing secession, because it's a way of removing the grievances that lead people to call for secession. We are very weak in negotiated compromise in this country. It's partly to do with our culture, and partly to do with the fact that we have lived under authoritarian rule for so long that negotiation is practically unknown. And if you're not used to negotiation, then you don't get to a negotiated compromise. And we have to go in for that. We have to find the answers to our problems together. And what I would like to ask the world to do is to help us to find the solutions to our own problems in our own way, always upholding international standards of human rights. We go to the front row and we come to the back there.
Dosu, you paint quite a bleak picture when you go into the percentages of unemployed youth and this and that, and the terrible lack of electricity and roads. You also recently said, I think in Yangon, some quite negative things about the pace of reform under this government, and said that the reforms hadn't been made as big an impact as they could. Do you still feel the government hasn't lived up to promises and could do more, or do you feel that
it could do more? What I've said is that I think we've concentrated enough on good intentions. Now what we want to look at are results. And the results are not as fantastic as you might expect them to be. Because don't forget that we're into the third year of the so-called reform process. And I keep repeating this. 3 years is not a short period. I think